to an overall structure of the thing, right?
And Murray mentioned, I think you mentioned before Rebound, you worked in government.
How influential was that in your setup of the Rebound?
I mean, I was very lucky to work in the highest ranking office in the UAE. So I worked for the Cabinet of Ministers. So on a federal level, all ministerial policies and regulations came through us. We reviewed it, etc. Going back to the business, regardless of your sector, whether you talk about sustainable businesses or other types of businesses, what value does a country have other than security and economy? These two are the most important points a country should focus on, and then others follow. So when you talk about the economic value of any type of industry, the government essentially lays the ground or paves the path for the success or failure of businesses. How do you frame it? How do you bring up the voices of stakeholders? How do you speak the language of governments is a skill that cannot be taught. It needs to be practiced. And so what I bring to the table, or how, this company started out first with a group of global experts that contributed immensely to where Rebound is today. But then my angle, or let's say the hat I wore, was always, what would happen if the cabinet got involved tomorrow? What would happen if the cabinet asked a question tomorrow? So I always thought about ministers and governments as the core stakeholders as well. And maybe they're not involved in the transaction per se. So we didn't build Rebound in a sense that we're very commercial and we just want to gain quantity. We built it in a perspective that the quality will become our, let's say, value proposition and unique selling point. We focus on the quality that is being generated, what is being offered. We work with the recyclers to enhance their processes. So we really care about the market to drive that $46 billion figure that you mentioned. And not all private companies would take this approach. No one wants to burden or hassle themselves with a stretch of work and trying to knock on doors which would be shut otherwise, etc. Like, it takes work, it takes patience, it takes a lot of personal factors that employees need to have, or let's say a company colleagues need to have in order to drive a change narrative. And one thing that the discussion of policies within Rebound and how it impacts our workflow is that we all know it can't happen overnight. So we take our time in positioning the importance and highlighting the economic, industrial, environmental aspects of this change, what needs to happen. And above all, it's, okay, you want to reduce and eliminate plastic pollution, which is what the Plastics Treaty is touching upon. So you want to eliminate plastic pollution around the world. How can you do that if countries are not valuing the waste management company and recyclers as an important sector? You don't want to have them, substituted or a sub of a bigger sector. No, they need to be recognized as a sector on their own. And humans and residents that live in that country need to be, from a social and community perspective, aware of those companies and how they can have a huge impact on how this company runs its business.
True.
Me putting food waste in the same bag as the recyclable waste is not going to help anyone. So might as well take that responsibility individually. But then on a government scale, on a company scale, there needs to be more efforts, more facts, more data. And the most important thing is also to not work alone. So companies shouldn't shy away from asking for help, collaborating, not really looking for that 50-50 module of, okay, we'll do this together, but so long as we split it 50-50. No, we'll do it together. This is the end outcome. In the beginning, if you need 80-20 split, then fine, you take the 80 so you can run your operations. And hopefully when we reach the picture perfect scenario, we can then talk about commercializing further.
Yeah.
But it's keeping in mind that governments will only do a part of what the country and private sector needs to drive. So I would say this is the kind of lens that I would wear, or that I wear today when talking to governments globally about recycled plastics and recycling, because jobs are important, source separation is important, municipality waste pickers and skippers and trucks are really important. So they all play a vital role in the circularity of things.